us to start. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to turn on my camera. Hello, for those of you who have never been to a workshop before, I'm Laurie. I am one of the ambassadors for Sawgrass. And in that capacity, I teach you how to get the most from the Sawgrass programs. Now, as we go along this evening, if you have a question, please feel free to unmute yourself and ask that question. This is more your workshop than it is mine. That's what we're here for, to address your questions. The only thing that I do ask is that while I'm speaking, if you do not have a question, if you could please keep your microphone on mute, and that way my voice does not need to compete with any other background noise that may be in your home. Now, if your device does not have access to a microphone, Zoom has a Q&A feature, and it is down on your taskbar. And if you click on Q&A, you can ask your question. And Rhonda is here from Sawgrass, and she will address those questions and answer them for you. If there is a question that Rhonda feels that the entire group would benefit from, she will interrupt me and we will go over that question together. So I am going to go ahead and share my screen, and we are just going to jump right in and get started. Okay, the screen we are now looking at is the landing page for our Sawgrass Exchange. When you go to the Sawgrass website and you click on Design Mate, it is going to bring you to this page. And there are a few things about this page that we do want to be familiar with. First and foremost, up in the right-hand corner, you should see your Sawgrass identity. Now, when you first create your account, this is going to be your name or your email address. If you utilize the Market Mate feature and you change the name of your store, your Sawgrass identity will then change to your store name. Now, why would you possibly see another identity that is not you? Many times we have folks that purchase a printer together. Husbands and wives, teachers have them in classrooms, business partners, whatever the case may be. They purchase a printer together. They're using one printer, one computer, but they like to keep two separate Sawgrass accounts, which is perfectly fine. One person is working, they do not sign out. The next person comes along and just mindlessly goes into the program, and they are not seeing their saved projects or possibly their plus content. And that is because those are items that we cannot share across accounts. They are unique to each individual account. So if you ever go into the program and you don't feel you are seeing what you should be seeing, just back out and double check and make sure you are logged into the correct account. Now, next is our little light bulb icon. This is our resource center. And in our resource center, we have three choices. Helpful tips. These are some tips and tutorials that will aid you in your design work and navigating the new programs. Announcements. Anytime Sawgrass has something that they want us to know about, and it's very important, it is going to be put in the announcement section. When a new announcement is added, you will see a number on your light bulb indicating how many new announcements there are. Underneath that, we have feedback. And this is a fantastic new feature that we have. If you have an idea for a feature or an enhancement of a current feature, you can submit that feedback and ask Sawgrass to possibly add that enhancement to the program. Now, this is for things that you want to see added or improved. This is not where we go if we have an actual problem with our physical printer. If something is broken, we're still going to use the help section and submit a support ticket. Now, once you have submitted your feedback, if you click on Open Portal, you'll see an area to go to your dashboard, and you can click on and view the suggestions other people have made. If you like their suggestion and you agree with them, you can give it a thumbs up, and that will let Sawgrass know, hey, multiple people really would like this feature. Each and every submission is reviewed and does get an answer. Not every suggestion will be implemented, but you can track its progress. It will say comment reviewed. You will see things like on the roadmap or in production. When it's on the roadmap, they are discussing the feasibility of adding it or trying to figure out how they would add it. In production means the programming is actually happening. Now, if you see that your suggestion says that it's being programmed, don't expect it tomorrow. There's a little bit of work that goes on behind the scenes. Just know that they are actively working on it. Okay, so now let's skip all the way over here to our left-hand side. My Studio is where you're going to click to access your saved designs from this page. Inspiration. We are actually already on the inspiration page. And what this page is you can click on the pictures of the products, and it's going to take you to what we call project cards. And those are step-by-step instructions to create the item that is pictured. These are great for just practicing and working on your skills. Just work through them. Even if you don't want to print out the project and press it, work through them just to get that skill set built. Then right here in the middle, this is going to change. Usually every month we're going to see a new picture and it will be highlighting that month's artwork. Now we do get an artwork drop once a month, typically on the first Tuesday of the month. However, it can be pushed back for a variety of reasons, but generally in that first week, we will see that new art. It's also letting you know that if you use design code design 30 as a coupon code, you will receive 30% off your first month of a Plus subscription. However, since you are here, I can go a little bit better than that. If you use the code GetCrafty25, GETKRAFTY 25, you will receive 25% off your first 2 months. Okay, so now let's go ahead. Oh, My Mates. I almost skipped My Mates. My Mates, this is a social media aspect of the program. You can go into My Mates. You can create a group for whatever interest you may have. You can join other groups. There's groups for designing, for marketing, whatever the case may be. And it's just a great way for you to connect with like-minded Sawgrass users. Okay, so now we'll click on New Creation and we will launch the program. The first thing that is going to populate is all of the blank templates that have been put into DesignMate for us to use. Every single item that is listed with a pre-made template can be added to a MarketMate store. Now, a couple things about that. First, you need to have the exact item that you are adding to your store. You need to have that on hand. You are the seller and you are the producer, so you need to have them there ready to go should you get an order. You need to have a printer that is large enough, in some cases, to print for that product. For example, throw pillows. In order to do a full bleed or color is going to touch every single side of that item, the throw pillows, you would need the bigger VJ printer. So keep in mind, you need the product and you need a printer big enough to produce the print. And you also need a press large enough or designed for that particular item. Okay, now anywhere in the program where you see a lowercase I, this indicates that there is additional information. In this case, when we click on the I, it gives us additional information and a very detailed description of that particular blank. In other areas of the program, that lowercase I might be information on how to use it and or what that particular function is for. And in some cases, they do even have some short video tutorials. So we'll just click on this and it launches our program. If we look over here to the left-hand side, we have several different buttons. The first one is labeled products. And if you choose, say I chose this can cooler and I decided that that actually isn't the product I wanted to design for right now, I could click on products and find another template and switch that out. Our next category is elements. And when we click on elements, we have 3 different choices. The first one is our graphics library. Now, the items in the graphics library, these are not complete designs. These are small individual pieces of designs. You can add them to the pre-existing artwork in DesignMate. You can add them to artwork you have uploaded, or you can combine several of them to create a completely new piece of artwork. Everything is put into categories. And across from the category name, if you see the word more, you can click on more and it will expand that category and show you all of the items that are offered. Anytime you see this diamond icon, that indicates that in order to use that piece of art or the function, it does require a Plus membership. Now, in the case of artwork, it will move the artwork over to your workspace. However, when you go to save and print, it will not allow you to do so until you purchase that membership. You can do searches for individual items, and you can also filter them. If you click on our little funnel, you see that we can make several choices. We could tell it to show us only the free designs in the love category. We would click apply, and then only those items would populate. Now, remember, just like with any other search field, your search is only as good as the word you use. So, for example, if you're doing something where you need cars and trucks, and you put in the word automobile, you may not get a whole lot of hits. But if you switch it and you put in cars, you may populate more results. So the first word you use doesn't give you a lot of choices. Try a similar but different word and see if you can get it to bring up additional art for you. Next, we have backgrounds. And backgrounds in DesignMate are really cool because what they do is when you add a background to a design, it locks in place. It anchors and becomes part of that template. It will not move. And so you can move all the other elements that you're working with around on your screen, and you don't have to worry about that background shifting on you. We can have solids, and there are also patterns to choose from. And again, noting that any pattern with a diamond icon is a plus item. We also have the ability to upload our own backgrounds. Things, if you get a pattern off of Creative Fabrica or Etsy, whatever the case may be, you can upload that in this section of the program, and it will behave like the pre-made backgrounds and lock to that space. Now, what I've been using is I have a ton of scrapbooking paper. I've been scanning those in a few at a time and trying those out as backgrounds, and I'm really liking that. Then underneath backgrounds, we have shapes. Now, shapes are really cool. We can do quite a few things with shapes. We can use them to draw a little bit with, and everything starts out as a basic shape. So we can combine several shapes together and create our own artwork. And we can also use them as clipping masks. Our basic shapes all come in the basic addition of DesignMate, and then we have some specialty shapes which do require a Plus membership, as do the alphabet choices. If you click on more, it expands that category. And we can also use these shapes as a mask, or what a lot of folks call clipping mask. So you would click on the clipping mask option, and then it will tell you to upload your image, and your image will be set inside that shape. This is great for when you have those ornament blanks, or jewelry blanks, and they're a particular shape. You can put that picture on that circle, print it out, and it will fit perfectly on those. Okay, underneath elements, we have upload file. This is where we go to upload our individual photos, our artwork that we have purchased from other places. This is where we're going to bring those items in. The compatible file formats are SVG, JPEG, PNG, Adobe Illustrator, Photoshop, and Corel Draw. We also have a size limitation of 50 megabytes. So if you are ever having an issue uploading an image, my advice is first check your file size. DesignMate's not even going to see a file that is not one of the compatible file formats. So the file format probably isn't going to be the issue. It's going to be that size. So double check there if you ever have an issue. Underneath upload file, we have fonts. First thing you notice is I do not get a text box on my workspace. My text box is over here on the left, and this is where I'm going to type in my text. Now, by default, it's justified center, but I could left justify, right justify, or I can even make my text go vertical. Now, once you have made it go vertical, if you don't care for how that looks, vertical is just a toggle, and you click on it and it goes back. If you want to change the style of your font, you click on font style, and you will see all of the available fonts. Now, if you click on own, this is a plus feature. And what this allows you to do is to upload fonts that you get from other places for use in DesignMate. DesignMate does not read the fonts that are already installed on your computer. They have to be brought into the program. But we do have to take a moment and go a little bit deeper on this one because it does cause a little bit of confusion. When you want to install a font into the program, it must be a font installation file. It needs to be a .ttf. That means somebody did some programming behind the scenes, and when you hit the keys on your keyboard, the magic is going to happen and it's going to type the word. Confusion comes in is when folks go out to Etsy and they see things like the cute ladybug font. And it's actually shouldn't be called a font. It really should be called an alphabet, because what it is 26 or 52 individual PNG files. That is artwork. That is not a font installation file. There was no programming that went on in the background to make that magic happen when you touch the keys. So once you have confirmed that what you are getting is a true font installation file, that .ttf, you're going to download it into your computer. Now, these files are huge, so they come into our systems as a compressed or a zipped file. If they didn't, they are so large it would just take hours for them to download. DesignMate's not going to see that zipped or compressed file. You need to extract those files before you can upload it into the program. extract those files, go into the file folder, choose the option that says .ttf and upload it. Then the first thing you want to do is you want to test it. When a person creates a font installation file, they need to do something called mapping the keyboard. They need to map it completely and they need to map it correctly. If you have ever been in a word processing program and you're typing along and you get a funny little square instead of the character that you anticipated, that is an example of something that was not mapped completely or correctly. Some programs can work around it and you get the funny little square. Other programs cannot work around it, and what will happen is they will lock up. I have had actually both instances happen to me. With one font, it locked up. With another font, it gave me the funny little square. So if you get the funny little square, you need to decide, can I work around this? It's not going to hurt anything to keep the font installed. You just have to decide, is the character that's showing up as the funny little square, is it important that I have that? Can I work around it? Now, if it locks up the program, the only thing you can do is to force it closed and then come back in. And then you immediately want to come over here and click on the trash can and get rid of the font. Take it out of the program. If it locks up once, it's going to continue to lock up. It's not going to magically fix itself. Now, when we get a font that does not work as expected or locks up the program, this is not something that we submit a support ticket for. The care specialist cannot resolve this issue. The only person that can address it is the person who created the font. The care specialist, they're not going to have access to the file. They really shouldn't go in and change somebody else's file. And it's just not something that they're going to be able to do for you. You need to reach out to the author. Now, this is my weekly public service announcement. The very popular, the Gabrielle Weiss font, or more commonly known as the Friends font, it does not work in the program. I personally have reached out to that author on multiple occasions. I have never heard anything back. So I don't feel that there is going to ever be a fix. So just be aware, don't even bother. It's not going to work. Okay, once you have chosen your font, you can use the slider bar to increase the size. You can also push and pull on your corner to get your sizing. We can space our letters out, or we can bring them in very tightly using our letter spacing slider bar. We can change the colors of our text. We click on fill color, and we see we have several options available to us. We have some predefined color swatches, and if you notice, as I roll my cursor over the different colors, it does give us a preview. We can also use the color picker. We can click on the slider bar, or if we have an exact color that we know we want, you can use hex codes, RGB codes, or CMYK codes. Now, when you are finished choosing your color, you do want to click done just to ensure that your color choice is saved. Underneath fill color, we have outline color. And basically, we have the same choices: our predefined swatches, our color picker, our slider bar, hex codes, RGB codes, and CMYK codes. In addition to that, we also have this outline stroke slider bar, and this increases the thickness of that outline. So you can move it forward, back, and decide how you want your text to look. Again, you want to make sure you click on done to ensure that your choice is saved. If you don't, it reverts back to black, and then it doesn't move the outline stroke back to the default position So that outline will still be as thick as you made it, and it will make your letters look a little chunky. Now, underneath outline color, we have some really fun effects that we can use for text, and we can move our text into different shapes and just do some really artistic things with it. Now, I do want you to know this text effects option is for a single line of text. Notice how it is available here when I have just one line of text. If I come up here and I hit enter to go down to a second line of text, that option disappears because it does not work with multiple lines. That's another thing about DesignMate. If a tool or item is not compatible with the function that you are doing at the time, you will not see that tool. Once I hit backspace and go back to just one line of text, that option is then back again. Underneath fonts, we have designs. Now, this is all of the pre-made artwork that Sawgrass has put into the program for us to use. Once again, that diamond icon does indicate that a Plus account is required to use that artwork. All of the new artwork for the month will be in the new category, and you'll see that you have the more option to expand it. And if you scroll through, we have several options for art. It's just almost endless, the things that you can do with it. Just like within elements, you can filter and you can search. Underneath designs is my gallery. This is all about you. My gallery is unique to your DesignMate account. This is everything about you. If you click on fonts, it will show you all of the fonts that have been installed using your Plus account. Images, this is all the artwork and the photos that you have uploaded into the program for use. This is all your stuff. Now, when we upload items, we do create these category names. Those are made by us. But if you select a category, you assign a category, and maybe that name isn't really working for you, if you click on the 3 red dots, you can edit that name or you can delete a category completely. The same thing with the artwork. If you click on the 3 dots, you can edit and delete. Once your category has more than 6 items, you will then get that more link to click on it and expand and scroll through them. Patterns. Anything in your patterns category, those are items that you uploaded in that backgrounds area. Patterns are the backgrounds that you uploaded to use, those pieces of art that will lock to your template. And then designs. Designs are your finished projects. These are things that you have worked on and you have saved. Again, we choose the category titles and we can edit or delete them as we see fit. We can also edit and delete the information for our projects. We do get a more button once we have more than 6 items in a category. And we can also search through our own items. Now, underneath my gallery, we have custom canvas. Now, I'm getting this alert and it's letting me know that if I continue with this action, I am going to lose all of the work that I have completed on this particular template. So just in case maybe you're working on something and you kind of have one of those shiny, there's something shiny moments, you won't accidentally lose work that you've done unless you're okay with it, which in this case I am. So we're going to click on yes. And this brings us to our custom canvas area. Now, the first thing you want to note about custom canvas is that it can be saved. So how do we go about using it? The first thing we need to determine is our unit of measure. We can use meters, pixels, millimeters, centimeters, feet, and inches. I am most comfortable in inches. So let's say I have an item that is 14 by 10. I'm going to come in here. I'm going to type in 14. 10 is already there for me, and it's going to give me my rectangle. Now I want a bleed. Anytime we have a design where the color is going to touch the edge of our design area and the edge of our blank, we want to create a bleed area. This is our margin for error, and it's going to be our safety net and catch us when we make a mistake. Now, I use 1/4 of an inch, so I'm going to type in 0.25. It's the industry standard, and that's what I learn with. If you need a bigger bleed, customize it to how much you need. How much space do you need? I know people use a smaller bleed than I do, and that's their comfort zone. So this is customizable to how you work. So now, why do we use this bleed area? So we don't want to accidentally have a white spot if we should misalign our blank and our printout. So when we put our printout on our item, we want to have that little bit of extra ink. That way, when we line things up, if we're off by just a little bit, the ink is going to transfer and we won't have a white spot. It's going to be off by such a small amount, nobody is ever going to notice. If we were only to design to that red line that indicates the size of our blank, and then we were off by even just a little bit, we're going to have a blank spot, and even the smallest blank spot will stick out like a sore thumb. So this is a rectangle. Not only can we do rectangles, DesignMate also has a variety of die cut shapes that we can choose. For example, the Benelux Christmas ornament is one that is very popular year round, and that is already in there for us. And it doesn't matter what supplier you got it from, it's the same shape. You just need to put in your width and height if it is different than the default. If you need a workspace that is just a typical paper size, you can find those in the die cut shapes area also. Additionally, Sawgrass has put in the ability for us to use an SVG and upload it to the program, and it will behave like the pre-made templates behave. Now, it does need to be a single layer, single path, meaning one layer, one line. It needs to be that single path SVG, or it will not come in. So if this were the example, if this were my SVG, this red is all one line. If the SVG had a second line for the hole on the ornament, that would be 2 layers, 2 lines, and it would not upload. So how do we go about doing this? I'm going to go ahead and we're going to go upload SVG. And my SVG, I'm sorry, I moved it, and now I don't remember where I moved it to. There it is. Okay, that's my SVG, and this is actually from a well-known, a very large sublimation blanks dealer. It is the leatherette heart keychain, the one that has the glitter on one side and the leatherette area on the other. So now we need to design on this. When DesignMate saves this, it is not saving your template really, it's saving your design. So each time you want to use this template, you may wind up having to upload it additional times. So now we need to design our canvas, and all we would do is click on design your canvas, and it brings up all of our other options. Okay, so let's go ahead and start tonight's project. So we're going to click on products, and we are going to do a baby one piece. And that is one thing you want to get, especially if you're selling, you want to get very used to saying one piece, because the word onesie is trademarked. So we're going to go with this one piece. And we are going to do a Valentine's Day shirt for an infant.
Sorry, I have a question.
Sure.
You had mentioned something about you have to have the exact item, but what if it's really close to the item? Is that okay?
Yes, close is okay. We're not, Sawgrass does not tell us where we need to source our blanks. If it is a 12-ounce metal can cooler with the black rim, you're good. I mean, but you do want it as close as possible. Okay.
Okay. And like, okay, like the ones that they're showing there, I know it's some items are in I can't think of the name now, the store that you told us about. Oh my goodness. But a lot of them are not. So we just have to shop around until we can find.
Okay, most of the items come from major dealers, and most of those dealers are authorized Sawgrass dealers. So if you use the dealer locator, it's typically meant to find a dealer to buy a printer. But if you use that dealer locator, you can see the different dealers and look around for those particular items. Off the top of my head, I will say that Johnson Plastics, Coastal Business Supply, and Condi. If Craft Express doesn't have it, those are your big three go-tos. After that, there's Swing Design. There are a ton of vendors out there, and they are the ones supplying the templates.
Okay, so in Sawgrass Inc., we can find dealer locators and find that information. Okay, wonderful.
Anywhere, if you click on where to buy,
okay,
it'll, you want to bring up the dealer locator, and some may be very lucky that I know if you live in Alabama, if you're close enough, you can do will call and pick your order up right at Condi. You don't need to go and have it shipped and wait.
Okay, and another question about the fonts.
Okay.
So if I design something and I don't write down the font name, it's not going to give that to me if I open it back up, will it?
If it should turn pink. Your font selection will be pink.
Ah, okay. Wonderful.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Thank you.
No problem. Okay, so we are going to, like I said, create a Valentine's Day one piece. So I'm going to search. I'm going to use Easter as my search term. And I am going to hit enter and see what comes up. And let's see, spring animals. So let's click on more for Easter. And here it is. I want this little chicken and egg. Now, I know I just said Valentine's Day and I promptly went into Easter. Never ever look at the artwork as pigeonholed into that one category. Don't look at what it is. Look at what you can turn it into, or how can you change it and make it unique in your own. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to zoom in by clicking on my magnifying glass, and I'm going to choose into design. And that's going to bring this up a little bit closer and make it a lot easier for you guys to see what I'm doing. First order of business. We do not need the glasses. So I'm going to click on the glasses and I'm going to choose my trash can and remove them. I'm thinking I don't need a winky eye. Oh, but it's not letting me click on my winky eye. It's selecting the whole chick. What I'm going to do now is I'm with the whole chick selected. I'm going to come over here and I have several layering position buttons I can use. And I'm just going to send that back one step just by clicking it once. And now I can click on my eye and use the trash can and remove it. And while I'm removing things, I do not need the letter A, and I do not need this extra word here. So we'll click on them and delete it. Now we don't want a one-eyed little chick. So what we're going to do is I'm going to click on the other eye. I'm going to come over here to my right-hand side and I'm going to choose my duplicate feature. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to get it about where I want it. It's probably going to move, but now I'm going to tell it to flip horizontally. I'm going to move and I'm going to click off just to make sure it's in the right direction. It is, and then I'm going to just position the eye about where I think it should be, maybe over just a touch. Okay, so now I'm going to select the chick again. Now I see that my square is all the way around the chick, and I can also tell because it's giving me my color palette. It is telling me for this particular layer, I have these 3 colors, but I want to change them to colors that I like a little bit better. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a check mark in my yellow. And this indicates that I'm changing the yellow. Now I could again choose the predefined swatches, click on my color choice, my color picker or my slider bar. But I like to have a little bit more control. So I chose RGB codes. Now in my group, I have one major pet peeve. And that is when someone asks a question, another person comes along and tells them to Google it or to do their research. That drives me crazy. That's not an answer, that's a directive. And since when did asking a question become not doing your own research? My one exception to that rule is the color codes, because there is not one place that I can send you to get all these codes. There's something like 16 million. So my method is this. I go to Google. I have a theme in my mind and I Google that and I add RGB code to the end of it. Once all of the items come up, I click on images. Then it will show me all kinds of different color palettes, and I can look through the color palettes and see the ones that align best with what I'm thinking. Click on it and it will take me to the website. And most times, not only will it give me the RGB code, it will also give me the hex code and the CMYK code. So whichever codes you might be most comfortable working with, you can usually get them that way. So I'm going to change my yellow code. And it's just a little bit of a brighter yellow. And I'm going to change my dark yellow as well. And kind of a little bit more of a muted color. And I am also changing the orange, not by much, just a little bit, but changing it nonetheless. Okay, now once I've changed all of those, I'm going to make sure that I click done so that my choices are saved. Now, with my chick still selected, I'm going to come over here and I'm going to duplicate this layer. And I'll move it aside. And I see that I still have my little beak and my outline for my wings. I only need the main piece of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ungroup this layer. Now it's going to allow me to select each individual piece and delete. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this and I'm going to make it a little bit skinnier and I'm going to make it a bunch shorter. And I'm going to move my words out of the way so I can see how this looks. And now I'm going to tilt it. And I'm going to back it up and kind of align it. And it can be a little wonky, but I'm going to align it so that the tuft up here is also being used as some tail feathers. Now, obviously, we don't want it blocking our eggshell or our wing. So I'm with this layer still selected, I'm going to send it all the way back. And now it's all the way behind. Now we're going to select our eggshell, and I like it a little bit closer in. So I'm just going to bring it in a little bit, bring it down just a touch. And I'm going to just kind of tilt it. Like I said, it can be a little wonky sometimes. Just want to tilt it just a little bit. And move it over. Okay, now once we've got the size correct and the position correct on this, we're going to duplicate this layer as well. Now what I'm going to do with this layer is I'm going to change the color by putting a check mark here, and I'm going to change this to a darker eggshell color. Okay, and now I'm going to just kind of put it just in front, and now I'm going to tell it to go all the way back. And that gives us just a little bit of definition, little shadowing, and a little depth to our design. Okay, so now let's do our words. So we're just going to use the fonts that they had pre-selected because they actually looked very cute with this design, but we do need to change what they say, and we're going to change some color. So I'm going to select I'm, and in this, I'm going to type daddies, and then I'm going to size it, and we may need to resize once we have all the words in there. And then I'm going to click on fill color, and I want my color to be all white. Now let's talk about white when we use it in color. White in sublimation represents an area of your paper where no ink is going to be put down. Pure white is 4 zeros in the CMYK color codes. So you want to, if you want pure white, you need to have those 4 zeros, or all F's is another easy way to remember it in your hex code. I'm actually going to copy the hex code for our next word so I don't have to do all kinds of typing. So I'm going to copy it.
Hey, Laurie.
Yeah.
Tim thought I had got the key stuck today because I was using the hex code FFFFFF, and he thought my keyboard had gotten stuck.
That's funny. You know what? I never noticed in all the years we've been doing this, I never noticed that if people use hex codes that F's is just as easy as zeros. That was my enlightenment for today. So the thing about white though, if you want pure white, you do need to make sure you have that correct color code. You know, think about painting a wall in your house. If you want to paint a white wall, when you go to the hardware store, it's not everybody just gets the same can of white paint. There's different shades of white, and those shades of white are produced by adding a small amount of color tint to that white base. So the same thing applies here in sublimation. If we have numbers in any of these boxes, even if it's just a 1 or a 2, that small amount of that ink will print out. You might not notice it on your screen. You might not notice it on your paper. But trust me, you're going to notice when you press it. You're going to see that pink tinge or that blue haze. So pure white, you want to make sure that you have all zeros. I'm going to click on done so that my selection gets saved. Then I'm going to go to outline color, and I'm going to leave the default black. I'm just going to bring this up maybe to a 2. I might have to come in and adjust it since all 3 words are using a different font. We kind of want some continuity. So I'm going to put it at 2 and see if it needs adjusting later. I'm going to click on done. Now I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to click on little. And I'm going to change that to favorite. I'm going to click on my fill color. I'm going to paste in my color code for white and click on done. I'm going to go to outline color, and I'm going to just move my stroke up a little bit. Just to a 2 that looks close. Click on done and repeat that process. Change egg to chick. Change it to white. And add our stroke. Okay, so now I'm going to just kind of position things a little bit. And if you want to maybe make it a little fun, position them a little wonky. Okay, now we have one more thing we need to do. And before we do that, we need to be able to size the main portion of our design all together so that we don't have to size each individual piece. In order to do that, we need to group it. So to group, oh, you know what? I almost forgot. You know what? I think I see something here. Before we group it and size it, let's spice her up. She's a her. So we're going to do shapes. And we're going to click on more. Let's go ahead and grab this rounded triangle. I made a note. I always tell you, you can draw with shapes. I'm going to show you a very simple way to draw with them. I've got my rounded triangle. I'm going to size that down. Okay, I'm going to size it to about there. We're going to do this over here so we have room to group without disturbing anything else. And I am going to put it on its side. And I'm going to go in, I'm going to change its color. And we're going to make this a purple. Okay. And now I'm going to click on my outline color, my black, and it will give me that stroke option, and it's too thick for my liking, so I'm going to bring it down to a 2. And then I'm going to click on done. Then what I'm going to do is I am going to duplicate it. And I'm going to flip it around and move it so that my 2 triangles are meeting. Now I'm going to go ahead and go into shapes again. And this time I'm just going to grab the circle, size that down. Okay, now I'm going to add my purple. And then my outline color, I'm going to bring that down to a 2 as well and click done. And there, I just drew a bow with shapes. So that's what I mean when I say you can draw with them. But now this is 3 individual pieces. We need to group it and move it to where we want it. So I don't want to accidentally grab these layers when I lasso. So I'm coming down below the bow. I'm going to press on my left mouse key, and I'm just going to grab those pieces. Then I'm going to use my crosshairs to position it. I can then make it size appropriate and tilt it a little bit. And we now have a bow for our chick. So now we need to go ahead and group the entire piece. So I can click anywhere. I'm going to group everything. And I'm going to size it down just a bit. A little too much. Okay. And now I'm going to make sure it's in the center. Now, that hot pink background just doesn't do it for me with this design. So if you notice over here, I can delete it or I can edit it. In this particular case, I'm going to delete it. But now that makes my design look kind of blah. So I'm going to go into elements, and I'm going to go into the graphics library, and I'm going to click on the more button across from love. And I am going to get our scribble heart. Add that to our project. With my heart selected, I'm going to come over here, and this last button all the way to the right, that's sending it all the way to the back. It's going to be behind every single layer. And there you go. You have your one piece for Daddy's favorite chick. Does anybody have any questions on anything I did to get to this point with the design?
So, Laurie, I do have a question. And when you took away the background, it kind of made my question a little moot. But if that pink background had stayed there, is there a way to soften those edges so you don't have that square static line?
Okay, what I would do, because we don't have a specific tool in DesignMate to do that, I would look for a photo mask that I could upload into the program that has those softer edges.
Photo mask. Okay.
Yeah, you bring it in and usually they'll be black, and then you just change it to that pure white and it'll soften those edges.
Okay, thank you.
I know Creative Fabrica does have some of those photo masks. You just kind of have to play with it and see which one works best for you.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's go ahead to printing. Now, if we just needed to print, we don't need to save it. If we just wanted to print, we can click on the print button. And we want to, this is where we exercise our patience. Depending on how complicated our design is, this could take longer. Okay, and it should have brought up a box for us to print a mock-up file or to just send it to the printer, and it did not.
So while you, oh yeah, you got an error up there.
Yeah.
So while you fuss with that, so the placement on this particular shirt is, I don't know. Me, I'd like it to be higher. I don't know. So it really doesn't matter because once I print it, the placement is up to me, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Right. Okay. With this particular template, it's allowing you to design in this space.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I just moved everything, or I moved the background, but the entire one piece is sublimatable. So you could put it off center. So yeah, it just depends on where you place it on the onesie.
Okay.
Because I have asked people, they want to put something on the tushy area, and there's no, the box ends on there is a double-sided onesie template. And on the double-sided, it ends before the tushy.
Mm-hmm.
Just put it in the middle, and when you go to press it, put it on the tushy.
Gotcha. Okay.
Okay, so this aired out on me. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to click on home really quick. And I'm going to tell it to discard changes. Typically, when we click on save and print, it is going to bring us to our product description page. I can bring up that page from a prior project and show you what that will look like. And it's also a very good example on how you go back to find your completed projects. Here is the one I did when I was testing out this design. So I clicked on my studio. It brought my studio up. Here's my favorite chick shirt. I'm going to click on these three dots. Now I could open it in the designer if I needed to open it and edit things. I could delete it completely, but for this, I'm going to click Manage Post Details. So typically, what is supposed to happen when we click on Save and Print in the program, we come to our product description page. A couple things, again, that we need to know. First, every single product needs to have a description, whether you are selling it in a Market Mate store or not. You must put something in this box. If you are putting it in a Market Mate store, this is the place where you want to be very descriptive. This is also the place where you might try and do some upsell. If this, say what this was a coffee mug, I put things in there like, is this a gift? Make it a set. See our coaster, our marble coaster with the same design, sending them to other places in your Market Mate store and getting those sales up higher. Okay, so once we have our name and our description, you notice here we have pricing. Even if you don't have a Market Mate store, you're going to see the pricing. $17.95 is the lowest I can put this item in my store for. Every single product has a base price. You cannot go lower than that base price. And a lot of research did go into this base pricing, so they are pretty on point. Now, you can't go lower, but you can go higher. If you feel that your work is worth more, you can certainly increase that price. You'll notice the breakdown here. Your sales price, and you are the seller, and you are the producer. So you get the combined total of these two amounts. Now, Sawgrass does not charge us when we list an item in our Market Mate store. The only time Sawgrass takes any part of a percentage is after you make that sale. After you make the sale, there is a small percentage that is deducted, and that goes towards things such as site maintenance and upkeep and services that they do provide. They are collecting and they are remitting all of the sales tax for us. And that service alone is well worth that percentage that they take. Now, Sawgrass will pay you out on the 2nd and 4th Tuesday of every month. You must hit a minimum threshold of $20 to get a payout. They will pay you to your PayPal account. If during that pay period you do not meet that $20 threshold, you will not receive a payout. So if you only sold one mug at $9.95, you have $9.95 in your Sawgrass account. On the day that they're going to pay out, you would not receive a payout. Now, the next week, you sell 4 more mugs and you have $50 in your Sawgrass account, you will see a payout. Now, our next 2 selections are, is it customizable and private product? Let's go over, is it customizable? We're going to put a check mark here. And then we get this lock layers. Now, not everybody is referred to as daddy. Some families it's pop-pop, or some children have 2 moms, or only an uncle is raising them. So you want to make sure that if you can customize your item to reach a broader audience, you do so. So for this, I don't want them to change the heart. So I'm going to lock everything about the heart. I'm going to lock every layer except for the word daddy. And I'm going to leave daddy unlocked, but I'm going to restrict to the colors. They need to leave the colors the same. And then I'm going to, you know what? Let's do the same thing with chick. Some people might feel chick isn't an appropriate word for a baby. So we'll leave that unlocked, but we'll lock the color. Then we lock everything else on all of the other layers. They cannot change anything. And once I am finished, I go up to the top and I click on done, letting it know that I am finished. I get the message that my layers are locked successfully. I can click away and that panel then disappears. Now I can put this in my store and they can put daddy's girl, they could put pop-ups girl, whatever the case may be. They can personalize this item to their liking.
Laurie, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so I must have missed something because I thought it was black lines around the substrate. Then they have like black.
Oh, when it locked up on me, I opened my test because every week I always do a test.
Okay.
So I opened my test and I just happened to do the test on the one without the black sleeves.
Okay. All right. Great. All right.
So
Now
you're not crazy. It did have black sleeves, but when that print button aired out on me, we went to
Okay.
my previously saved copy.
Now, my next question is that, okay, when you lock something, well, when you unlock something, say I'm making a sports team substrate,
Okay.
and they want to upload their own. If they're uploading their own, does it have to be a commercial SVG in order for us to sell it?
No. When they're uploading, if it's text, like for daddies, okay. If it's typed out text, they're gonna type out the text.
Right, but I'm talking about the actual picture, like if they wanted to change one of the elements.
I believe it has to be an element where you can upload a photo to it.
Yeah, so Lori, what I generally recommend is do I usually in another program make a gray box with the words put photo here, and then you just put that somewhere, and then if that's an element that they can change when they click on it, it'll pop up a little upload button.
Okay.
Does that
Okay,
make
and
sense?
we
So I
can-
have an SVG with eagles on it that I purchased,
Okay.
but I was letting people know that they can do their own team if they want it. So they will have to search for an SVG with their team name on it in order to upload it for it to be a commercial license.
Well, okay. That's kind of a couple different things.
Right.
right?
Okay.
First of all, if we're talking like Eagles, like as in NFL,
Yes.
nobody has a license other than major companies. The NFL does not give them out. If you are buying those designs on Etsy, they do not have the right to be selling them to you.
Well, actually, it's lettering. It's not the actual logo of the Eagles. It's like
Okay.
yeah, it's a letter. I wrote it out, but
Okay.
design.
I don't even remember what town or state where they're from. So I'm going to use Chicago Bears.
Okay.
I can put bears. I have to be very careful how I do it. I can put bears. I can put bears on a blue background and orange. That's it. The minute I put Chicago Bears or I get too close, because you have to remember the artwork is copyrighted.
Right.
The name is trademarked.
Yes.
And so if it's just Eagles you're using, that's fine. I'm not sure how you would, I mean, if you went into your store and somebody uploaded Chicago Bears artwork, I don't know.
Oh yeah, I know not to do that.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, you have, if they're typing out the letters, if it's typing out, they're going to type it out themselves.
Right. Okay.
But if it's an image, like Rhonda said, you have to have that image area unlocked.
Right. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
That one is where you really want to be careful. You walk
Yes.
you walk a tight line and you don't want to fall on the wrong side of it.
Oh no, I don't.
Because it just came out. There's a news article. I had one of my admins post in the group. Taylor Swift is shutting people down. With the passing of Toby Keith, you have seen a ton of requests for people to do Toby Keith designs. Nothing screams louder and harder that I'm going to shut you down than a woman who just lost her husband. She inherits all that. So you gotta,
tread lightly.
Yeah.
Okay.
My advice is don't, and if you do, don't tell me.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
So I'll make those private for my Eagle fans if that's the case. All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
I didn't hear that. Okay. Okay. So, which brings us to our next option is private product. Now, this is your inventory control, and this is also for things that might not be appropriate for every single audience. things like adult themed or political themed items. Some people get offended very quickly by both of those topics. What this does is you can have this in the store. I put this in my store. I only have 21 pieces on hand. I go to bed and I wake up and I sold all 20. Well, I don't want to sell 21 because I don't have 21. And I know my supplier takes 3 days to ship to me. What I do is I go into my item and I check the private product. This leaves it in my store, but people that just wander in, they cannot see it. You can only order it if I supply you with that specific link. This is great for, it's an election year. Those designs bring out the best in folks. And, they get very upset if you have, one over the other, or even if you have both in your store, it's a hot button. What you can do, you can have a Democrat design, you can have a Republican design, you can have them both in your store. Mark them both as private. Only send the links to the people that you feel would be interested in those items. If you don't want little prying eyes to maybe see a swear word or an adult theme type thing, make it private, and then only people with that direct link can purchase it. Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and we're going to click on print, and this is going to open up our PrintMate. And it is downloading our artwork. And again, this can take a moment. Okay, and it brings in our artwork. Now, my tip for t-shirts, for placing on t-shirts, and this is going to crack Rhonda up because we've kind of discussed this, how you work and how you don't work. Typically, I hate things centered on my page. I center t-shirts on the page. And then what I do is I fold the paper corner to corner to find my middle, and I just crease it a little bit. Then when I pre-press my substrate, I fold the shirt in half and create just very slight pressure to create a barely visible line. And I line my crease up with my ironed crease on my shirt. And that's my trick for getting them centered. So when we bring our item in, we also need to make some selections. Now we need to decide upon how we are going to make all of our selections. We can come over here, and if we're not 100% sure on what we want to choose, we can go to the presets and choose one of those options, and that is all programmed to give you the proper product and print quality. For this, if I were using a preset, I would check the polyester t-shirt. Now, if your item is not listed in the presets, use process of elimination and choose the item that best describes your product. Now, I like to have a little bit more control than that, so I come down here and I do everything separately. So under product, I would choose polyester. My paper size would be letter. I would leave it on high quality. Media type, this is your paper brand. So if you look, not all paper brands are listed. In fact, very few paper brands are listed. If your paper brand is not listed, you choose type A. That is the default selection. I actually have Craft Express paper loaded in my printer this evening, so type A is the correct choice, and my tray 1. I want it to print in portrait orientation, I can change that. If I wanted to, change it to landscape. And if I needed multiple copies, I can tell it to print out 10 copies. Or if, like I said, last night I sold 20 of these, I could print out all 20 at once and send them to the printer. Now we want to click on color management. And we have 4 choices. Photographic. We use this choice if our design has an actual photograph in it. This is going to handle the saturation in such a way that it is going to give you the most lifelike results. Your skin tones. If you've ever seen something that somebody has sublimated and the skin tones are all orangey, that is an example of something where the saturation was not handled correctly. This mode is going to handle that for you and give you that best result. Now, it's not a magic wand. If your photograph is of bad quality, choosing photographic isn't going to add to, subtract, or fix a bad photo. It just handles the coloring. It's not an editing tool. Since our project is a graphic, I'm going to choose vibrant. This is going to handle those colors in such a way that they pop and play off of one another, giving me that just very bright and vibrant result. Now, if I were doing photo panels, we do have the ability now to change them to grayscale right in our printing program. This is great. I've said it several times. I have a photo wall of photos of my family dating all the way back to the 1890s going forward. Now I can add my kids' pictures to that photo wall and they don't look out of place because I can put them on some panels and in grayscale and they will fit right in. Then we have custom color. This is an advanced area. This is where if you have some knowledge on how to handle your colors and adjust them, you can do so. You can also adjust your brightness, hue, saturation, and contrast. Just know that if you choose to use this option, you must click Apply to Image for those changes to take effect. Okay, very quickly, we are going to go over what we call gang printing, and that is printing multiples. You hear, when you're doing small items, you don't want to waste a lot of paper. You want to make the most of all of your supplies. And so what I gang print the most of is Christmas ornaments, and I sell Christmas ornaments year round. It's not just Christmas time. So when I have orders for ornaments to fulfill, I like to fit 6 on an 8.5 by 11 sheet. But when we send one file over, it goes to its own sheet of paper. If you notice, we have another tab here, and my second print job went to its own sheet of paper. We want to conserve that resource and we want to print them together. So we're going to gang print them. Notice each print file has a name and a unique number. So I'm on the 271. I'm going to come here to design files where it says select a job. I want it to join the design file number 692. So I'm going to select that one. And then I'm going to click merge into tab. And now both of my ornament files are on one sheet of paper, and I can do this for as many files as I need. I can bring in files from DesignMate, and then if I have something that I just purchased that's all finished and it doesn't need any editing, I can actually add files by dragging and dropping into the program. Okay, so now, really quick, let's go over our settings area. Anytime you launch PrintMate. If you see an orange dot over by your settings button, that means that there is an update that needs to be done. It is getting harder and harder to miss that orange dot, because you will also receive a pop-up telling you that there is an update, giving you the version number, and explaining to you why we're getting the update. What is it fixing? What is it adding? So we want to make sure that we always do all of our updates. So we're going to click on Settings, and by default, we're on our General tab. Now, this is so that we can customize PrintMate to the way we work. The first two options, these options are for our Silhouette Cameo 3 and Cameo 4 users. You can now design in DesignMate, print in PrintMate, and PrintMate will print the registration marks so that you can do print and cut. In order to see those options, you will need to have these first two options checked. I'm sorry, at this time, it is not available to Cricut users. Sawgrass does understand that the Cricut users would love to have this feature, but that request needs to be made through Cricut. Underneath that, we have close jobs after printing. I like to leave my jobs open, so I unchecked this option. I like to make sure that I get a good press before I close everything out, because I know all too well that anything can happen at the press and I may need to print a second copy. Automatically start with Windows. This means that when you boot up your computer, PrintMate is going to automatically start and run in the background. Now, some people might have a slower processor or less RAM on their computer, and they may want to remove this check mark so that that boot up process goes a little bit quicker. Automatically crop to image area. When you look at the sizing in PrintMate, those measurements are for the template, not the image. If you want to see the image sizes, you need to check the option crop to image area. If you want crop to image area as the default, you would put a checkbox in here, and then it would always default to measuring the image, not the template. UX optimization, we want to leave this checked. This allows us to have our in-app education, so we need to leave that one checked. Enable spot colors. Spot colors are an advanced feature, just like custom colors. And if you are one of those people that would really like a lot of control in dialing in your colors very specifically, you want to have this option checked. And then you choose your unit of measure. Are you most comfortable in inches or millimeters? Now, you can come in and check and uncheck and change as many times. This is not set in stone. If you set it up one way and it does not work for you, the beautiful thing is Sawgrass has made it so that we can come in and configure it and we can change it. Under devices, typically most folks only have one printer. If you have multiple printers, they will all be listed here, and you will be able to toggle in between them. When you click on your printer, on the right-hand side, it's going to show you some printer information. It's going to give you your ink levels and your waste tank level. Many new people are very, very shocked to learn that Sawgrass printers have a waste tank, and that waste tank is a consumable item and will need to be switched out. Now, please do not try and pry it open, empty it, and reuse it. You are never going to get that sealed back properly, and you run the risk of it leaking, causing a huge mess and possibly damaging the unit. So you want to use a genuine Sawgrass part. You can get them wherever you purchase your genuine Sawgrass ink. I believe they are now $38, and this is not an item that you will be buying often. It is just every once in a while. You don't even have to buy it right away. When it starts to creep up towards the top, you do want to make that purchase. your printer will not print if your waste tank is full. Underneath that, it is telling you your Sawgrass model and the ink set that you set it up for. Now, when you're setting up your printer, everybody is so nervous. They've got that ink box and they're looking at it to make sure that they choose the correct ink set that they have in their hand. Then the first time they need to purchase ink, everybody panics. They don't remember what they need to buy. Well, now it is here for you. Just remember, once you install a particular ink set into your printer, you always need to use that ink set. The formulas are different, and switching ink sets can void your warranty. So you want to make sure that you are buying the correct ink. You also want to make sure that when you purchase your ink, read the description. Don't just look at the pictures. On a couple websites, the photo is of the ink for the 500 and the 1000, but the actual item is for the 400. Actually read the description and make sure, because inks for the 400 and 800 series do not fit into the 500 and the 1000. It lists your serial number. Now, you will need your serial number if you are putting in a ticket with the care specialist. Kind of look at it as the doctor chart for your printer. All of that information through every ticket, every communication that you have with Sawgrass, it's all going to be tied to that serial number. So you want to make sure that you have that on hand when you put in the ticket. It makes things go very quick, or more quickly than if you have to kind of go back and forth. They ask for it, you give it. If the reason you are putting in your ticket is because your printmate is not working properly and you cannot get to this screen, your serial number is also located on a sticker on the inside of your ink access door and on the rear of the printer. This tells you your firmware version. Then down here, we have some printer maintenance things. If we click on printer utilities, we get our nozzle checks and our head cleaning and our primary chart. Every once in a while, we may print something out and it looks like there are horizontal stripes going through it. That's a pretty clear indication that we have a clog someplace. So we're going to print out a nozzle check. We're going to look at that nozzle check, and a nozzle check is just a diagnostic test pattern, but all 4 boxes should look identical. There should not be any broken or missing lines. If there are broken or missing lines, that is the color that has the clog, and we need to resolve that. So let's just say we have some breaks in our cyan. What we are going to do is we are going to click on head cleaning. Notice we have 2 heads. Black and cyan is print head 1. Magenta and yellow is print head 2. And then we do have the option to clean both heads. But the thing about print head cleanings, while they are necessary, they do put a little wear, tear, and stress on the print head. So if it's not broken, we don't try and fix it. If you don't need to clean it, we don't. So I said there's only an issue in our cyan. So I'm going to click on that button for the black and cyan head. Your printer is going to make noise. It's going to make the same noise it makes when it does its auto maintenance. It sounds very similar to when it's printing. It's going to run that maintenance routine. When it finishes, you print out another nozzle check. Nozzle checks are like bookends, one before and one after, always. We're going to look at it. If the cyan now does not have any breaks in the lines, we're going to go ahead and you can continue working. If it still has an issue, you do a second print head cleaning and then another nozzle check. You can do a third print head cleaning if you need to. After that third cleaning, when you print out that nozzle check, if it still has breaks in the lines, you're going to stop. We're not fixing anything. And remember I said it can put a little wear, tear, and stress on the print head. So we're just going to stop. If you're in my group, we're going to ask you to clean your capping station. And we're going to provide you with a link that goes directly to the Sawgrass website It gives you written step-by-step instructions, and it includes a video that goes through it step by step. We're not going to ghost you at that point. We are going to hold your hand and we are going to talk you through it. We will be there for moral support if we need to. You're going to clean the capping station, which again, not a lickety split process. It's going to take some time. We're going to clean it. Then we're going to run another nozzle check. If after the head cleanings and the capping station cleanings, you are still experiencing issues, we're going to ask that you put in a ticket with Sawgrass. You can tell them that you're working with me, or if you're working with one of my admins, let them know that you're working with us. Lay out the steps for them. We did the cleanings, we did the capping station. This is where we're at. We're not a secret. They will then know where to pick up and help you. They know what we're doing. And, it's not that we don't know what the next step is. We certainly do. It's just that I'm an ambassador and a couple of my admins are, but we're not Sawgrass employees. And in certain situations, it is more advantageous to you to work with an employee. Then this last icon here, our primary chart. Sometimes our colors just look a little bit off. We're going to ask you to print that out and we're going to look at it. And in most cases, we can tell which color is the culprit. And if it is a genuine color issue, at that point, we do need to ask you, in my group, we ask you to put in a ticket. Now, we have another use for this in my group, and that is the tumblers and the frosted drinkware when they come out faded. Those two items are probably the most tricky to learn. And the first step is we need to eliminate the printer as being the problem. So what we ask you to do is print out the primary chart, take some scrap fabric, take it to your flat press and press it at 385 for 65 seconds, and then show us that fabric. If it presses vibrant and beautiful, we just jumped the highest, hardest hurdle. The printer is not the problem. And that's the good news. Now we still have to deal with the faded tumbler, and we're still going to work with you on that. And we're going to check into your process. Is it your paper? Is it your actual blank that you're using? We've had that happen. We're going to hold your hand and we're going to check all those boxes until we figure out what the issue is. But the printer's not the problem, and that is the best news. Okay, after devices, we have manage page sizes. Here you are going to find typical paper sizes. You can come in and you can rename them. If you use legal paper for desk mats, you could just mark it desk mat. Or if you only use letter paper for wind spinners, you could mark it wind spinner. For the longest time, I couldn't remember that A3 plus was the size for the bypass tray. I mean, it says it right here what size it is, but for the life of me, I could not remember what it was called. I could have renamed that bypass tray. You can add custom sizes. I purchased paper on a roll. I know the largest I can print is that 13 by 51 on my 1000 with the bypass tray. So I have already made that size for different products. As I cut that paper, I could come in and create more sizes. Now, our next item is send to PrintMate. This is for those users that want to print from another program to PrintMate. For those affinity users, Photoshop, outside of DesignMate, you need to set this up first. You need to click on, if you have more than one printer, you need to put a check mark in front of the printer that you are setting up, because you have to do each printer individually, and you need to make some choices. So if you have the silhouette, you can tell it to remove the check mark by mirror, and you want registration marks and add a bleed. And then you want to save changes. I recommend removing the check mark by auto print. If you leave it checked, what's going to happen is it's going to go straight to the printer. And if you wanted to make changes in your product or your color mode, you will miss that opportunity. So I remove that check mark. But if you only do coffee mugs, you could come in and you could set this all up for coffee mugs, then go into Affinity or Photoshop, whatever the case may be, and just start sending your items directly to the printer. The next item is spot colors. And like I said, this is an advanced area. This is if you would like to dial in your colors very specifically. The best way that I can explain this to those that don't have this knowledge, it is like find and replace in a word processing program, only it's find and replace with colors. So what you're going to do is you're going to create a table and you're going to tell it every time you find this red, replace it with this red. And again, this is an advanced option. It's not something that you must use, but it is there if you choose to use it. The next selection is print from file. This is a diagnostic tool, and you would probably only use it if requested from a care specialist. And then the last is your account information. Now, are there any questions? I know I just put a lot at you.